Hello, everybody, and welcome back into another playoff preview show here at the Hockey Writers. This is the last one of the second round here. We've got three already on the YouTube channel, so definitely check those out as you move forward. Today, we're going to talk about the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Rangers. Both went to game sevens. Both were in the air. We weren't sure we're going to get the Penguins or the Bruins in this one. So I've got Brandon Stanley, who covers the Carolina Hurricanes, and Kyle Knopp, who covers a lot on the Morning Skate newsletter, and he represented the Penguins last time, so he's going to go with the Rangers here. We'll see if he's not a bad omen for for covering them. So we'll see how all this plays out. So thanks for coming on the show, Brandon and Kyle here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yes. Thank you for having us. Excited to be back. Although I kind of cheated by coming back with a different team. So that late season trade apparently, but we'll take it.
Kyle wears many hats here.
That's very true.
So it's it's gonna be a fun series. I think it's gonna be an interesting one. We'll see how it all plays out, but we'll just do a little preview here like we've done in the past in the first round. So let's jump in here. The regular season series, the Hurricanes won that 3-1. Outscored the Rangers 14-10 in that series. Power plays pretty even, 2 for 9 Hurricanes. Rangers were 2 for 12. So, I mean, not much on the power plays. They're pretty much the same. Chris Kreider led the way with 4 goals and 6 points on the Rangers side. Zibanejad with 5. Hurricanes had quite a few contributions throughout their lineup in the season series. Sebastian Aho, of course, led the way with 3 goals and 7 points. Seth Jarvis, who's been a revelation for this team throughout the season and in the playoffs, had 4 points in that season series. And then he had a few other guys with 4. Trocheck and Svechnikov had 4 points as well. So low spread out on the scoring side, which, I mean, the Hurricanes have done that all season. They've been a pretty well-balanced offensive team. So let's go into this season series or the series here and talk about the offense that may sway it both ways. Both teams have pretty balanced lineup. So starting with you, Kyle, what do you think the Rangers offense has in this series? I mean, against, in the first round against the Penguins, they had a bit of trouble, but they, in the end, came back from a 3-1 deficit. Some of their scores started going. So what do you think this will play out in this series?
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to, like you said, needing that top line to come in and produce. Zibanejad and Kreider, they produced when they needed to against the Penguins. Panarin absolutely did, especially in overtime. So having those guys show up and really come ready to play, Carolina's gotten pretty more staunch defensively. They know how to shut down teams' good offensive threats. So you're going to need a lot of that firepower coming off that first line, at least setting the tone and then letting the second, third lines kind of picking up from there.
Yeah, it's going to take a full team effort to go against the Hurricanes. Brandon, you know how well balanced this offense has been throughout the year. What do you think they have against this Rangers team? I mean, in the first round, it was the Bruins brought them to the brink. I didn't think it was going to go that far. So, I mean, how are they going to overcome the Rangers offense, which I think is better than the Bruins?
Yeah, I would agree. It's tricky though. Like you'd say that on one hand, but the way the Bruins play, I just feel like they're such a bad matchup for the Hurricanes and have been for years, and that's why they knock the Hurricanes out of the playoffs back-to-back years, and that's why they're so defensively structured. And like the way Bergeron just eliminated Aho when the game was in Boston, he did not get on the score sheet one time in Boston. He had 5 points in 4 games in Carolina. So the ability to have a line that just takes away the Hurricanes' top line like that, I don't think the Rangers quite have that. And, we've been talking about it all year. The depth is the reason the Hurricanes won that series, because I don't think guys like Sebastian Aho, Andrei Svechnikov, Teuvo Teravainen had their best. Teravainen was great in Game 7 alongside Max Domi. That was like the Hurricanes scoring line out of nowhere. But I think the Hurricanes need more from their top guys, and I think they'll get it in the series.
Yeah,
I just knowing Svechnikov and Aho, they're super. Like knowing how competitive Aho and Svechnikov are, I don't think they're getting shut down 2 series in a row like that.
No, and the thing is about the the Rangers, they don't have that shutdown center that will be matched against them all the time. I mean, so I think they're going to roll that 4 lines. I don't know if they're going to do any hard matching against them. It's like they've got a good, well-balanced team. I think will be able to balance and play against any line. So it should be a different series. Yeah.
I'd say their one shutdown guy that, you're not going to see, at least in the first 2 games, is Barclay Goodrow. He was kind of brought over in that role, 2-time back-to-back Stanley Cup champion with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And he's their shutdown guy, but he took a puck off the foot in game 1 against the Penguins, and he will be out at least games 1 and 2. So that'll be an interesting storyline to watch as well.
Yeah, well, injuries for sure. I mean, that's always. I mean, everyone's playing hurt. I would say most guys are playing hurt in in the playoffs. So we'll see who overcomes that throughout. So let's talk about the defense on both teams. I mean, again, well balanced both sides. They've got their stars that kind of lead the way, but Tony DeAngelo, and on the Hurricane side, and then you got Adam Fox, who we've talked about at length. On the last preview show. So, Brandon, what do you think this defense for the Hurricanes would be able to bring against the offense that the Rangers are going to, bring to the table here?
Well, it's so hard to differentiate with the Hurricanes because there's their blue line's very stacked. Yes, they have a very good defense, but it's such a team defense. Like Jordan Staal and those guys played such a big role in it. And I think, once again, we're going to see that against guys like Zibanejad and Artemi Panarin. Jordan Stahl's line is going to be matched up with them as often as Rod Brindamore can when they're at PNC. And then on the road, it's going to be more of a team effort, right? Because that Niederreiter, Stahl, and Jesper Foss line was probably the Hurricanes' most consistent in the first round. Probably their MVP line, I guess. Because what they did against Bergeron and Marchand, it was similarly ridiculous, the discrepancy between how they produced in Carolina and in Boston. I think Brad Marchand had 10 points in 3 games in Boston and 1 in 4 Carolina games, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to come down to how that matchup plays out once again with the Rangers. They're not quite as top heavy. They have a little bit more depth than the Bruins do. But if they're, I think the Hurricanes' defensive game plan will start with shutting down those guys and then go from there. Just kind of go with the idea of let somebody else beat you if the Rangers are going to beat you.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Kyle, looking at the defense on the Rangers, I mean, we talked about Adam Fox in the preview last time, and how do you think he played in that game? In the last series. I mean, going towards this one, he's going to lead the way again. We talked about K'Andre Miller as well. How do you think this group stacks up against, I'd say, a pretty potent offense in the Hurricanes?
Yeah, I mean,
so good, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah, no,
I was watching him last series. He's so good.
He is. He's an excellent, not only defenseman, but he can turn that switch on and change the play offensively in a heartbeat. And
when you have Slavin, nobody does that.
yeah.
Seriously.
Oh my gosh. And when you have someone that's like that can do that so quickly and make that transition from defense to offense, it's it's something the other team has to plan for throughout the whole series. And so you're basically planning to shut down 4 forwards throughout a full series, which is tough to do. It's tough because it immediately gives you a mismatch as the opposing coach. So the Rangers defense situation is interesting. They use 7 different D in that first round. Their core, Schneider, Miller, who was Fox and Trouba played all 7 games. The other 3 kind of rotated through, but they had 6 goals and 23 points in 7 games for that defensive core. So they're producing from the back end and they're driving that play. So as long as they can continue to do that, especially in the transition, that's where they're going to catch Carolina sleeping. And so I think that's what they need. They need to have that offense first minded transition ready to go. And they just need to attack from that defensive standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, offense from the defense sure makes a difference. I mean, it doesn't matter in the playoffs, regular season. It just adds that extra layer of something you have to deal with every game. You can't just go and say, we're going to shut down their forwards. That's fine. But then you got the defense adding that as well. And you always have to watch them jumping into the play and all that. So it definitely changes things.
if I can add something there, in that first round series, when I represented the Penguins, I talked about Chris Letang and how the Rangers needed to watch out for him kind of doing the same thing, driving that offense from the back end. And he was kind of, he had a good series. You know, he was one of those guys that kind of was that, factor for the Penguins. Obviously didn't do enough, but so in the alternative sense, the Rangers need to do that and continue to do that because that is their MO, that is their game plan. And so I think it's going to be a very exciting series coming in terms of all that transition offense.
Well, and I was actually going to talk about the way the Hurricanes are such a fast-paced, aggressive team, so centered around their forecheck. So the Rangers will have opportunities if they pick their spots properly to pinch up, and that can lead to odd man rushes, right? So,
the counter attack is going to be huge.
Exactly. So
definitely. Most teams have speed as well. So it's going to be good. Let's talk about the guy that's going to have to stop the offense right at the end. There is the goaltending. Both sides were up and down because, I mean, for the Hurricanes, you had Antti Raanta didn't play the whole series because he was hurt. Anderson's still out. Koklichov, if I'm saying that name right, he played a couple games there, but didn't look overly good. But I mean, he still had his moments. What do you think, Brandon, his goaltending will be? I mean, Antti Ranta's back. He played really well in the games that he came back in. What do you think this will match up as?
Yeah, well, first of all, I thought Coach Chekhov was awesome in his first relief appearance. He got that first game 2, maybe. I can't even remember now. It was only like a week ago, and I'm already can't remember. So he had the relief appearance when David Pastrnak ran into Raanta, and he had to come out of the game. And then he made 30 saves and was awesome that game, trying to fight Brad Marchand and everything, making fans all over the country or continent,
world.
But yeah, so then he went to Then he went to Boston, and kind of like the entire Hurricanes, that he struggled. Raanta came back. Raanta wasn't that great in Boston either. None of the Hurricanes were. Let's just put it that way. Like, all 3 games in Boston, the Hurricanes didn't really have that many good performances. But I mean, Raanta's the guy now, right? Like, the way he played down the stretch, I think he had a .965 save percentage in the 4 Carolina games. I mean, he's always been a super talented guy, right? The question with him has always been injuries. So the Hurricanes need him to stay healthy. The situation with Freddie Anderson's, I was talking about this on my podcast last night, actually. It's got a little weird because we keep hearing Brendan Moore just say, we'll know when he gets on the ice. But they're not saying when he's going to get on the ice. And the first time he said that, it kind of seemed like it's going to happen in the next few days, and that's been weeks now. So at this point, I'm not sure what to expect from Anderson. I don't know if he's going to be back this year, and I don't know if you put him in, especially with the way Raanta's playing. Maybe if the Hurricanes go down in some series and he's pushing to come back, maybe we'll see what the options are then. But for now, Antti Raanta's the guy, and he's been fantastic. So I think the Hurricanes have a lot of confidence in him right now.
Yeah, well, a tandem. Again, when they've signed Raanta, I mean, he's been a starter in the past. Again, injuries is why he couldn't stay. In the Arizona Coyotes, he was signed to be their starter, and kind of because of injuries, didn't play a lot. So signing him looks like a genius move right now. Along with Anderson. So let's talk about Shesterkin. I mean, he didn't have a very good first round. I mean, he kind of turned it on the last couple of games. Played really well, but still a goals against average of over 3. That's not Shesterkin numbers. I mean, when he put together what he did in the regular season. So how do you think he'll play in this series? Has he returned to that Vezina Trophy? Probably going to be winner form.
I mean, you have to assume that he is going to, right? He's an ultra competitor. He's young, so hopefully he doesn't have that issue of having that long-term memory problem. He seems to be able to bounce back quite well. His best game actually in that first round series was that game 1 triple overtime loss He played phenomenal. He made 79 saves, but just couldn't do quite enough to get it done. And it was a deflection goal that was what did it. So, not a clean shot that beat him. He might want to had one or two of those back, but yeah, I mean, he looked great. He bounced back, got the win, played almost the exact same in game 2, 39 saves. He had a 9.51 save percentage and a 201 goals against average, giving up those 2 goals in that game. And then the games 3 and 4, he really kind of fell apart, and that was in Boston in Pittsburgh. And I think both teams, kind of did that as well, but he got chased in both of those games, and that's not something that you see happen very often. But the following games, coming back, he got a win after that, getting chased back-to-back games, and then 2 more wins after that. So he did everything he needed to do to close out that series, and he really responded from when he got chased and had those 2 back-to-back bad games. So if there's any indication from that, I think he's going to come out prepared. I think he's going to come out ready. And I think we're going to see a Shesterkin playing at a very high level this round. And it's going to be quite fun to watch.
Yeah, well, he's been fun to watch all season. So if he can return to that, it's going to be a heck of a goaltending battle throughout this series. So let's hope and fingers crossed that both goaltenders play really well, because I love watching great goaltending. I don't like it when it's, they look like they don't look good. So, yeah. So let's move to some X factors in this series. We had a few in the first round, and for both sides, Tyler Mott is back for the Rangers and played, I believe, 16 minutes in that last game. So I'm going to pick one right now, and I'm going to say Tyler Mott, because I really like him as a player. I didn't like that the Canucks traded him away. I'm hoping he just comes back to the Canucks in the offseason. But that's an aside. Brandon, what do you think? Actually, we'll start with you, Kyle, because I just mentioned a guy from the Rangers. Who do you think from the Rangers side could potentially be an X factor in this series going forward here?
Yeah, I think there's a few that could really kind of come to light this round. I think Andrew Knopp had a really good first round, 7 points in 7 games. I think they need him to continue to perform like he did in that round. Frank Vetrano has a chance to kind of get back at his old team, which is always a cause for, fun to keep an eye on, between the trade that sent D'Angelo down and him up. So that'll be fun. I think the biggest key factors for the Rangers this series are going to be their kid line. First and foremost, Lafreniere and Kakko. I think they really need to show up. They played all right. They had 4 points and 2 points respectively. But I think the biggest, I'll give you the 2 biggest X factors. One I already mentioned was Barclay Goodrow. He's going to be missing the first 2 games, but when he comes back, if he can be that shutdown type center that the Rangers really need to stymie, the Carolina Hurricanes, I think that's going to be a huge X factor when he gets back. And then the other one is Ryan Reeves. I think he needs to be a lot more of a presence this round. He had 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 points. He was a -1. He had 0 PIMs. He didn't really have any indication on this round at all in that first round series. So I think he needs to be a bigger presence, whether it's getting under the skin of those star players or just being that physical presence on that middle to bottom 6. So I know I just threw a lot of names at you. I think there's a lot of keys to this series, but I think the 2 biggest ones are going to be Goodrow and Reeves.
Yeah, 2 guys that have performed well in the playoffs in the past. So it's not like that they've never shown it. So definitely 2 good picks there. Brandon, what do you think X factors for the Hurricanes? I already mentioned Seth Jarvis. I think he could potentially be. I don't want to take him from you. But what do you think?
That's who I picked last year.
Well, you were right. There you go.
Yeah, I think I was too. He was really at the middle of a lot of very good things for the Hurricanes, and he just continues to get better seemingly every game. I mean, I love watching that kid. I mean, because I'm not a big guy, so watching like a not big guy, it's got like his competitiveness and everything. It's just right up my alley. Anyway, hopefully I can go 2 for 2 on this one because the Hurricanes really need to start getting something from him. But I'm going to go with Martin Necas.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
He has not had a good year.
No, and
he's in a contract year. The Hurricanes were expecting big things, and it saved him some money. So I guess there's a plus side to it. And Andrei Svechnikov kind of had a down year by his standards last season, and Necas is in his 3rd season. So maybe this is the year delayed sophomore slump or something. That's the Hurricanes. They had their sophomore slump a year late. I don't know. Hopefully this is his coming out party. The Hurricanes need his speed and playmaking to start producing for them. That's such a big part. When he plays well, the Hurricanes are so deep and have so much talent. And he's fighting the puck right now. He has no confidence. That's really what it comes down to. Is you can see it out there.
Yeah.
He's making bad passes. He's the puck's just rolling off his stick like it would me. I mean, he's not playing good hockey right now, and the Hurricanes need him to start being that dynamic presence he has been for the first couple years of his career.
And when he plays with that confidence, I mean, he is so dangerous
really
on the ice.
He's so good.
Yeah, he can strike from anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen so many highlight reel goals where he goes through 4 or 5 guys. And, crazy, beautiful plays. And I don't know if we've had one of those all year long. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I know that was kind of a long-winded one from me too, but it's like I said earlier, I did just want to add this one more time. Like, Aho had that vicious collision with Charlie McAvoy last series, right? Yeah. And especially in the rest of that game, he didn't look quite right. He was kind of starting to fight the puck. And actually, in the game-winning goal, they had a 4-on-2, and he basically passed it on to Hampus Lindholm's tape. I mean, 4-on-2, he passed it to Lindholm. I was like, he don't look quite right. That's not a play Aho would normally make. So that's definitely something to watch, is Sebastian Aho's health. I think he's okay. He looked a little better Game 7, and he's obviously had a few days off to relax and hopefully get back to 100%. Well, as close as you can be this time of year, right? Nobody's
right. Yep.
Yeah. No, it's going to be interesting to see which guys do step up, and it's always fun to watch on
always is at a time
who comes out of nowhere and just or just rebounds from what they did in the regular season. So
Vincent Trocheck last series, he didn't have a good regular season either, and he was awesome in the first round.
There you go. I mean, new game. I mean, the playoffs are just a new season, so it doesn't matter what you did in the regular season. You can make a name for yourself or a new contract in the future as well. You get a big contract when you shouldn't have if you did go by the regular season. Let's talk about this. Who's going to win this and what they need to do to win it. Kyle, the New York Rangers will win this series if
they can win at PNC Arena.
There you go.
There's been some trouble on the road for the New York Rangers, and there's been some home cooking for the Carolina Hurricanes. So if New York can steal one on the road, they have a chance.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. That whole first round series was a home team series. No one won on the road. So that home ice advantage sure came into play in that series. Because Game 7 was the decider. So whoever had the home ice obviously won the game and won the series. Brandon, what do you think? The Carolina Hurricanes will win this series if?
I think they need to get to Shesterkin early. Obviously, he's going to win the Vezina this year, and you guys already talked a little bit about how he's kind of been shaky at times down the stretch and in the playoffs even. So I think the Hurricanes need to come out in games 1 and 2 on that home ice with that crowd behind them, pop a couple goals on them early, make them uncomfortable, put some doubt in his head. I think if they do that, they definitely can win this series if they play the way they're supposed to. So get a couple goals early. Don't let a hot goalie steal. Knock you out.
Which has happened. The Flames almost saw that happen in the first round there. So it can happen.
That's another thing about playoff hockey. One hot goalie and things change real quick.
Yeah. Especially over just such a short time. I mean, goaltenders can get hot. You see it in the regular season. So you do that in the playoffs, you're in trouble. So let's get some final predictions for this series. Brandon, what do you think this series will end up as in the second round?
My least favorite part of this. I'm going to go. So once again, I mean, they won 3 out of 4 in the regular season. The Hurricanes did. The one loss was to Alexander Georgiev, of all people. It wasn't Shesterkin. Georgiev had a 44 save shutout.
Yeah.
Hurricanes have got to stay out of the penalty box against the Rangers power play, and I think they can win the series in 6 games. But they got to clean some things up from the first round. I think they can win it in 6 games. That's my prediction.
6 games. All right, Kyle, what do you think the final series will be at the end of here?
Yeah, I mean, I think both teams are extremely talented. They have scoring depth and good goaltending. I think both teams are solid at home, and have been a little shaky away from the road. So it's going to be a really interesting series. I do think the Rangers steal one at PNC. However, I think Carolina does steal one at Madison Square Garden to get the home series back. I think this goes 7. The New York Rangers are still a little too young, haven't experienced the full playoff woes yet, whereas the Carolina Hurricanes have. Carolina in 7. It's going to be a tight series, though.
Yeah. I think this goes 6 or 7 as well. I mean, all these series are going to go the distance. All these ones.
I didn't want to pick 7 again. Like, what have we done to deserve this many games in one playoff round? I mean,
really see it.
At some point, it's got to run out, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Although,
I mean, the playoff
true.
record's only 7, right? And we just saw 5 in the first round.
Right.
The 92 had 6 in the first round and then didn't get past the game 6 the rest of the way. So maybe we'll see that. Maybe everything tired and blowouts. Who knows? But I think there's so much parity in the NHL, and this season has just been. Yeah. I mean, you saw all 8 teams in the East getting at least 100 points. So right. I think this is the year we break that 7-game sevens.
I believe so. There's going to be at least 2 in this. I think you got the Battle of Alberta, Battle of Florida. I think those go to 7. This one could go to 7. I mean, the only one that may not is the Avalanche Blues, but if Bennington keeps playing that way, they may steal a couple too. So
we were just talking about hot goalies, and last night I actually started to pipe in and say that. So we just saw that again last night.
Yeah.
Oh, he played phenomenal.
Seriously.
Yeah, but Avalanche just have proved to be too good, too much. So thanks, guys, for coming on for another preview show. We'll see who's back, or Kyle changes teams again. We'll see how this series ends up. Thanks for coming on, and make sure you're following the guys writing on hockeywriters.com. We have the Hockey Writers podcast. We're going to be recording today as well, and that comes out every day, so keep an eye out for that. We're going to have Monday editions of that on YouTube coming up too, so keep an eye out for all the stuff. But we're going to have, again, another 2 preview shows once we get to the conference finals, and then obviously the Stanley Cup final too. And we have post-game shows. We had a couple last night, so make sure you're checking those out after every game. I mean, you may not want to check them all out if you're not fans of every team, but if you are, we'll get a good recap. So
those were good last night.
Post games. So they'll tighten up. This is our first one. So thanks for watching them if you did. And we will see you next time in the next preview show, and you're going to see my face every night on post-game shows. So get used to this mug. Thanks, guys, and we will see you next time.